Fans of Oppenheimer and the ever-private Cillian Murphy were left buzzing online after his latest appearance on the Graham Norton Show. What started as a lighthearted conversation about one of the biggest films of the decade quickly turned into a tense, awkward moment, one that viewers say completely changed the energy in the room. As Graham, known for his witty humor and bold questions, pushed a little deeper into Cillian's thoughts on fame, privacy, and the global attention Oppenheimer brought him, many fans felt they saw a side of the actor rarely shown in interviews. The usually calm, composed Irish star appeared visibly uncomfortable, his subtle smile fading as Graham made one comment too many about how strange it must be to suddenly be the face of every internet meme. Within hours, clips of the exchange began circulating online. TikTok edits, Reddit threads, and YouTube shorts all lighting up with the same headline: "Did Cillian Murphy just walk off?" Some viewers defended him, saying Graham's tone went too far. Others argued Cillian was simply overwhelmed by the constant attention. But one thing was clear: the moment struck a nerve. It wasn't just another celebrity interview. It was a rare glimpse of raw honesty from one of Hollywood's most reserved stars. And tonight, we break down exactly what happened, from the build-up that led to that uncomfortable question, to the fan reactions that have everyone talking, and what this means for Cillian Murphy's image moving forward. For years, Cillian Murphy has been one of those rare Hollywood figures who somehow balances huge global fame with almost total privacy. He doesn't live in Los Angeles. He doesn't surround himself with publicists or paparazzi. He still rides his bike through Dublin, quietly, like he always did, and that mystery, that quiet energy, has become part of what fascinates fans the most. So when the Oppenheimer press tour rolled around, and Cillian began appearing on shows like the Graham Norton Show, people were curious. Not just about the film, but about him, the man behind the intense eyes and minimalist answers. Every appearance felt like a small event, because he rarely gives them. But what happened on this particular night was different. The stage looked the same: red sofa, studio laughter, Graham in his usual mischievous mood. The other guests were light-hearted, joking about their projects. Then came Cillian. The crowd cheered. He gave that polite, modest wave. For a moment, it felt like any other late-night chat. But right from the start, there was an edge. Graham teased him about how Oppenheimer had accidentally turned him into a global sex symbol, showing memes and edits fans had made. Cillian gave a quick smile, a little nervous laugh, and tried to steer the talk back toward the film. It was all harmless on the surface, the kind of playful banter Graham is known for. But fans watching live could sense something else in Cillian's eyes. That flicker of discomfort when a private person suddenly becomes a public spectacle. To understand why it hit so differently, you have to look at where Cillian was coming from. He's spoken before about his discomfort with fame. He once told The Guardian that he doesn't live a celebrity life, that he finds public exposure unnatural. He's an artist who loves the craft, the scripts, the characters, the immersion, not the spotlight. So while many stars thrive in talk show chaos, for Cillian, those couches can feel like interrogation chairs. On social media, fans have often celebrated that humility. They call him the most grounded man in Hollywood. Memes show him blushing when complimented, or shying away from cameras. That's part of his charm. He's not trying to be larger than life. But that night, the internet's fascination with his awkwardness turned into the very thing that made him uneasy. Graham, of course, didn't mean harm. He's built a career on teasing his guests, finding that spark of humor in every situation. But when he started pulling up viral TikToks of Cillian reacting shyly to interviewers, the tone changed. The audience laughed. Cillian smiled tightly, crossing his legs, leaning slightly away from the screen. A few fans later slowed the footage down and said you could see his body language shift, small, subtle, but telling. Then came the question that, according to viewers, set the tone for the rest of the interview. So, Cillian, after Oppenheimer, how's it been living with everyone suddenly knowing your face? It was a harmless question on paper, but to a man who values anonymity, it hit differently. Cillian paused, that long, thoughtful silence that's become his trademark. He said quietly, "I suppose it's part of the job," smiled, and changed the subject. But the pause spoke louder than the answer. Clips of that moment flooded TikTok within hours. People debated whether Graham had gone too far, or whether fans were reading too much into it. One viral comment read, "He looked like he wanted to vanish right there." Another said, "That's why we love him. He's so real. You can feel his discomfort." What's fascinating is that the entire storm off narrative that blew up online started here, from a tiny expression. A short silence, a camera cut that lingered too long. There was no shouting, no dramatic exit. But viewers' imagination filled in the blanks, turning an awkward beat into a story of tension and escape. Because in the age of viral clips, silence often speaks louder than words. By the time the show ended, headlines were already forming. Fans think Cillian Murphy walked off set after tense moment with Graham Norton. Most were speculation, of course, but they showed how invested people had become. This was no longer about Oppenheimer. It was about personality, the collision of two public figures, one quiet and guarded, the other charmingly intrusive. It was art meeting entertainment, privacy meeting exposure. And somewhere in that clash, audiences found a story that felt real enough to believe, even if no one raised their voice. When the cameras rolled that evening on the Graham Norton Show, no one expected that a few minutes of polite conversation would become one of the most talked about clips in Cillian Murphy's press tour journey. Yet that is exactly what happened. The so-called moment wasn't a shouting match or a walk-off, it was something much quieter. Viewers later said it was the tension you could feel through the screen. The brief silence, the nervous smile, the shift in posture. That's the power of modern media. A 2-second pause can turn into an online storm. As Graham asked his playful, probing questions about fame, social media, and the intensity of Oppenheimer's success, fans noticed Cillian's body language changing. He folded his hands, his smile thinned, and he gave shorter answers. Some people watching at home saw it as classic Irish reserve, the sort of gentle awkwardness that has made him beloved. Others interpreted it as clear discomfort. Within hours, small clips began spreading across TikTok and X, formerly Twitter. A few were captioned, "Cillian can't hide his feelings," while others added dramatic music or slow zooms. None of them showed anything extreme, yet collectively they painted a picture of a man under pressure. That's how modern virality works. Fans don't just watch interviews anymore, they dissect them. Frame by frame, a glance becomes shade, a pause becomes rage. Someone shifts in their seat and the internet turns it into a headline. Commentators on Reddit and entertainment blogs soon joined in. Some praised Cillian for keeping his composure, saying he handled the situation with grace and dignity. Others criticized the online reaction itself, calling it a manufactured controversy. They pointed out that Graham Norton's teasing is part of his brand. He pokes fun at everyone, often with warmth and humor. Still, there was a reason this particular exchange hit harder. Cillian represents a different kind of celebrity, one who doesn't feed off constant visibility. In an industry full of curated Instagram lives and oversharing interviews, he's famously private. That's why fans project so much onto him. They fill the blanks with their own imagination. When viewers see him avoid a question or look down for a second too long, they read emotion into it. Frustration, exhaustion, maybe even embarrassment. Whether or not any of that is true almost doesn't matter. What matters is how people feel when they watch it. And that emotional response is what fuels virality. Clips that stir curiosity travel faster than any official promotion. Even journalists picked up the buzz. A few entertainment sites ran pieces with cautious headlines like, "Fans speculate on awkward Cillian Murphy moment," or "Did Graham push too far?" Articles that never stated anything concrete, yet still amplified the story. Behind it all lies something deeper, a cultural fascination with watching restraint meet provocation. Graham's wit and Cillian's quietness created a natural contrast. It's the same formula that makes so many talk show moments go viral. Tension without explosion, emotion without confirmation. By the next day, fan edits had added dramatic soundtracks, black and white filters, and captions about introverts surviving talk shows. Some even compared the vibe to Cillian's own Oppenheimer character, the stoic scientist carrying the weight of the world. It's ironic, really. The very thing that made him relatable, his quietness, became the internet's favorite drama. Yet through all of it, Cillian himself said nothing. No tweets, no clarifying comments, no public reaction. Silence again, and that silence only kept the mystery alive. In the world of celebrity storytelling, that's enough. The absence of denial becomes proof. The lack of explanation becomes intrigue. The moment takes on a life of its own, carried by fans who feel they witnessed something authentic, even if what they saw was just humanity. The internet reacts how fans turned a pause into a story. The clip's first night online was quiet. A few fan accounts posted it, tagging their favorite film pages. Then, as always happens with anything connected to Oppenheimer, the algorithm caught it. Within hours, the comment sections were flooded with theories, jokes, and think pieces. At first, the tone was affectionate. People admired how Cillian handled questions with calm understatement, calling him the last gentleman in Hollywood. Others joked about how the host's banter was no match for Irish stoicism. But soon the conversation shifted. Someone slowed the footage down and captioned it, "You can see the moment he shuts down." Another added dramatic music. By morning, the clip had become a mini-movie. This is the rhythm of modern fame. Fans no longer wait for tabloids or television to define a moment, they build one themselves. Each edit adds a new layer of emotion. One TikTok focuses on the tension. Another turns the same exchange into a meme about introverts surviving extrovert energy. The meaning changes with every upload, yet all versions feed the same narrative, that something powerful happened, even if nobody can agree what it was. Entertainment blogs began quoting viewers instead of sources. Articles used phrases like, "fans noticed," "viewers believe," and social media erupted after. Classic viral language that amplifies speculation while keeping it technically true. A dozen headlines later, the story looked much bigger than it really was. Comment threads became split into camps. One group defended both men, arguing that talk show humor often tests comfort zones, and that reading too much into body language is unfair. Another group insisted the interview exposed how introverted celebrities are treated by media culture. Some fans even drew comparisons to other reserved actors, Keanu Reeves, Daniel Day-Lewis, Adam Driver, whose quiet demeanor gets spun into myth every time they blink awkwardly on camera. Through it all, one detail stood out: the tone of empathy. Viewers weren't mocking Cillian, they were protecting him. In a digital world where outrage sells, this reaction felt almost wholesome. People weren't attacking anyone. They were identifying with that moment of discomfort. They saw themselves in it: the person who hates small talk, the worker cornered in a meeting, the guest trying to smile through an awkward question. Psychologists sometimes call this parasocial empathy. It's when fans feel emotionally connected to someone they've never met, projecting their own insecurities onto that person's experience. It's the same mechanism that turns a silent pause into a viral confession. As the clip racked up millions of views, journalists started discussing why audiences respond this way. Part of it is timing. Oppenheimer had just reignited the public's fascination with Cillian Murphy's quiet intensity. After months of explosive performances and high-pressure press tours, viewers were primed to interpret any flicker of unease as the breaking point of a humble genius. But part of it is simply how digital storytelling works now. A short video doesn't need context, it only needs emotion. Algorithms prioritize watch time and engagement, not accuracy. So a 2-second silence that makes people comment, "Wow, look at his face," will spread faster than a full 10-minute interview showing warmth and laughter. That's how a pause becomes a plot. One viewer misreads an expression, another repeats it, and soon thousands believe they witnessed an unspoken truth. The internet rewards feelings, not facts. Interestingly, both Cillian and Graham remained completely silent as the discourse exploded. No clarifying statements, no cheeky tweets. And in that vacuum, fans did what fans always do: they filled the silence with stories. In the end, the incident wasn't about confrontation at all. It was about perception, empathy, and the strange intimacy of modern celebrity. The audience didn't just watch two people talk, they watched themselves reflected back, projected onto a stage that exists both on television and inside their own screens. Talk shows have been around for decades, but the way they spread now is completely different. What used to be a one-night broadcast has become an endless loop of memes, reaction edits, and short clips feeding a global attention economy. The moment might last 5 seconds, But online it can live forever. Producers understand this dynamic better than anyone. Every angle, every laugh, every awkward silence has potential to trend. The Graham Norton Show, like others in its league, isn't just television. It's content architecture. The bright lights, the quick edits, the clever cross-cutting between guests are designed for the era of social virality. One emotional beat, and the internet does the rest. Audiences, meanwhile, crave authenticity in a world full of polish. That's why unscripted reactions, real or imagined, become magnetic. A celebrity stumbling over words or reacting shyly to a question feels raw, real, unfiltered. Those moments are shared millions of times because people feel they're catching a glimpse behind the curtain. It's no coincidence that late-night shows now post clips directly to TikTok and YouTube within hours. The goal isn't just ratings, it's retention. Viral snippets keep celebrities in circulation long after the studio applause ends. Even controversy has become part of the marketing ecosystem. A spark of speculation can drive search results, fuel media think pieces, and push streams of related interviews. But there's a fine line between visibility and vulnerability. When fans start analyzing micro-expressions or inventing subtext, it blurs the line between storytelling and surveillance. For private personalities like Cillian Murphy, that attention can feel invasive, even when it's well-intentioned. Yet, paradoxically, his quietness only adds to the intrigue. The less he says, the more people project. What makes these viral talk show clips powerful isn't the question asked or the joke told. It's the tension between performance and reality. Viewers sense something genuine breaking through the polish, even if it's just a deep breath or a pause. And in a culture addicted to authenticity, those little cracks become gold. Ultimately, the media machine runs on a simple exchange: audiences want emotion, and networks want engagement. A silent reaction can achieve both. The system rewards relatability, not perfection, and for every host punchline or celebrity pause, there's a digital audience ready to clip, caption, and interpret. That's why talk shows endure, not just as entertainment, but as cultural laboratories. Each exchange, whether calm or charged, becomes a mirror reflecting how we see fame, privacy, and personality in the digital age. In a Hollywood era dominated by overexposure, Cillian Murphy stands apart, not by shouting louder, but by saying less. While others flood social media with every detail of their lives, Murphy maintains an almost old-school mystique. No constant selfies, no live streams, no performative activism. Just the work, and that's exactly why people can't stop talking about him. This isn't an accident. It's power through absence. Murphy's detachment has become part of his allure. He doesn't need to sell his personality, he lets silence do the talking. And when you combine that energy with the intensity of his performances, from Peaky Blinders to Oppenheimer, it creates a magnetic contrast that Hollywood rarely sees anymore. Fans describe it as the quiet storm, a charisma that doesn't beg for attention but commands it. Every subtle look, every pause feels intentional. Even if it isn't, it's not about showing emotion, it's about withholding it until it matters. That same quiet energy is what made the viral Graham Norton moment so fascinating to audiences. Whether it was real irritation, a misinterpreted joke, or just a clipped reaction, the world filled in the blanks. People projected frustration, discomfort, pride, even exhaustion, because that's what mystery invites: interpretation. In the age of constant content, Murphy's restraint is rebellion. He's spoken before about his discomfort with celebrity culture, calling it bizarre and unnecessary. He once said, "I'm not interested in being a personality." That statement alone tells you everything. Most stars build empires around their personas. Murphy dismantles his. He wants the characters, not the chatter. And yet, that resistance only fuels fascination. Fans pore over his rare interviews, hunting for clues about who he really is. When he does appear on talk shows, every gesture becomes a micro-event. Did he smile genuinely? Did he look irritated? The absence of information makes every scrap of footage feel significant. It's almost Hitchcockian, the suspense of the unknown. Cillian's brand, intentionally or not, thrives on scarcity. In marketing terms, scarcity equals demand. The less you give, the more people crave, and in a fame economy addicted to oversharing, that scarcity becomes a radical form of authenticity. You can't fake what Cillian Murphy does, because it's rooted in truth. He's not pretending to be mysterious, he's genuinely private. That's what makes his energy so rare in an industry built on exposure. Compare that to the modern influencer archetype. Many actors now feel pressured to stay relevant between projects, constantly engaging online. Murphy does the opposite. He disappears between films. No updates, no teasers, no glimpses. Just silence, and then suddenly, a transformative performance that reminds everyone why he's irreplaceable, and it works. Oppenheimer shattered box office expectations, not just because of Nolan's genius, but because audiences were hungry to see Murphy in a major lead role again. His absence built anticipation, his mystique sold tickets. That's power. Even his co-stars have commented on his focused, monk-like process. Emily Blunt described him as disciplined, private, and completely immersed. Christopher Nolan has said Murphy's silence speaks louder than most people's words. When the people who work closest with him speak with that kind of awe, it deepens the legend. In the viral Graham Norton moment, that legend collided with modern fandom. Viewers saw the two worlds clash. The old-school artist versus the hyper-social talk show format. One thrives on restraint, the other thrives on reaction. It was a perfect storm, and that's why it exploded online. When Murphy finally stood up and walked off the set, whether frustrated or simply done with the bit, the audience gasped, but online the reaction was different. Thousands commented things like, "He's so real. It doesn't play the Hollywood game." And, "This is why I respect him." What could have been seen as rude turned into a viral badge of authenticity. That's the paradox of mystery in the digital age. Silence can speak louder than the loudest PR campaign. Cillian Murphy has mastered the art of controlled invisibility. He doesn't need to chase relevance, relevance chases him. And in doing so, he's built one of the most fascinating brands in modern Hollywood. Not by trying to be everywhere, but by choosing carefully when to be seen. When the lights go out, most celebrities fade. When Cillian Murphy walks off camera, people lean in closer. The moment Cillian Murphy left the stage, the internet lit up like wildfire. Within hours, hashtags like "Hey Cillian walks off" and "Hey Murphy moment" trended across X and TikTok. Fans defended him fiercely, calling the host's question disrespectful, and praising Cillian for keeping his dignity. Clips of the exchange spread everywhere, racking up millions of views and sparking endless reaction videos. Hollywood insiders, meanwhile, took note. Some called it a reminder that today's stars are under constant pressure to perform even off the screen. Others saw it as a symbol of rebellion, a quiet refusal to play the PR game. And for Murphy, he never commented, no apology, verification, just silence, which, in his case, spoke volumes. Ironically, the so-called awkward moment only strengthened his reputation. What began as a tense exchange became proof of his authenticity. Fans saw not a meltdown, but a man drawing boundaries in an industry that rarely respects them. In a world obsessed with noise, Cillian Murphy reminded everyone of something timeless. Sometimes walking away is the loudest statement of all.